Hello, thank you for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to calculate the interest coverage ratio. This ratio is going to help you to decide whether to lend to someone or lend to a business at what rate and at what terms. So let us start with writing interest coverage ratios. We have the interest coverage ratio, so this ratio is equal to the earnings divided by the net income. Sorry, the earnings divided by the interest expense. My bad. Okay, so both of these can be found in the income statement. So this basically tells us, does the company or does any person have enough earnings to cover their interest expense? Okay, so creditors are the people who lend money. Okay, so they think, who should I lend to? And they could use this ratio to determine whether to lend to someone or not. So the usual questions they have is, what rate should I lend them at? Should I lend them at a 2% rate or a 3% rate or a 4% rate or a 0.5% rate, right? So what rate should they lend? So the more riskier the person, the more higher the rate they give. So yes, and what terms and conditions should they keep? Okay, now let us talk about an example for the interest coverage ratio. 3 simple firms, and let us see. So the 2 divided by 1 and 10 divided by 1, and the 2 divided by 1 firm is a little bit more risk. That is not more risky. Okay, it is more risky compared to the other firm. Okay, it is more risky compared to the right side firm because it only has, okay, they can cover the interest expense, but it is more riskier than the firm which has $10 for every $1 of interest expense. And the right side of the firm is that they don't have enough earnings to cover the interest expense. So that is very, very risky. So if you're going to put a percent on their interest expense, what percent would you put them on? So your main question here is, how easily can they cover their interest expense? Like their interest, they have to pay monthly interest expenses. So how easily can they cover them? So the first firm, they can cover decently, but they do possess a certain risk. So let's just give them 2%. But this firm has a lot of earnings for every $1 of interest expense, so they can easily cover their interest expense. So let us give them 0.5%. We're not taking too much risk here. The final thing is very, very risky. We would not even give them, but if we were to give them, we would give the highest possible rate so that they would even stop asking us the money. And this is how we use the interest coverage ratio. So the earnings part, so what earnings do we use? We could use the operating income to evaluate the interest coverage ratio. We could also use the earnings before interest and taxes, or we could also use the earnings before interest and taxes and before the depreciation and amortization as well, to see if they have the cash flows necessary to pay all of the interest expenses. So if you notice something here, all of these 3 earnings are presented before the interest expense in the income statement, right? Why is that? This is because we are checking if they have enough earnings to pay off the interest expense, and that is why we're checking the items before the interest expense and not after that. That is why we do not use net income here. We only use these 3 things for the calculating the earnings. Okay, now all of these things are related, so you have to understand the relation between the income statements and all the components of that. So thank you for watching this video. If you really liked it, please feel free to subscribe and check out our website. Thank you. Have a good day.